Yo, yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another episode of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast, episode 5 of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast, featuring me, Chris Porter. On the other side, I got my good brother over there, M.Dot. What's up with you, my good brother?
I'm good, man. God is good. Everybody's
Amen.
alive. Everybody doing their thing. I'm good. I'm happy,
Amen.
bro. I'm happy. Everything's going good.
Word. Everything's cool, man. Life be lifing. I done had a crazy month, but,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, all things is possible through God, so I'll be all
Amen.
right.
Yeah.
But listen, we're here for another episode. Thank you for everybody tuning in to another episode of the Who Asked Y'all To podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on our channel. Turn the post notifications on so you get notifications every time we drop. We drop on weekly episodes, and we really appreciate all the support that we've been getting thus far. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.
And share us too. Like share us, post us on your socials, like whatever to kind of make our channel grow. We'd appreciate it. We love y'all, and we're gonna continue to ride with y'all if y'all continue to ride with us. Simple as
For
that.
sure, for sure. So where you want to get it started?
We can start on. You want to start on the Harden situation.
We can
You want to
start
get into
on
that first?
Harden.
Yeah, go ahead. Get into that first. That's more
Get
your
Harden
speed.
out the way. So James Harden, guard for the Philadelphia 76ers, future Hall of Famer, was sent away from the team recently. At this point now, he's kind of expected to come back, but Harden has missed the first 3 games of the season as he was away from the 76ers due to his own personal reasons, hadn't communicated with the staff. So the first 2 games of the season, he was forced to sit out. Now the Sixers as well as James Harden are currently under investigation to see if he violated terms of the new collective bargaining agreement. So if people don't know, basically with the new CBA for the NBA, when games are nationally televised, which the first game of the season usually typically is, unless there's a valid reason, players can't just sit those games out. And then if they do sit those games out, they are still required to attend those games so that fans can still have that interaction with the player, even if the player isn't playing. And so with Harden not attending the game, being sent home from the 76ers, or excuse me, maybe not sent home is the right verbiage, but told not to travel with the team, ramp his workout stuff up. The Sixers are under investigation. It's no telling how this investigation will play out. But ultimately, the bigger question is how the James Harden saga is going to end up playing out. I think most of us at this point kind of have a good idea of where we think is headed. At this point, James is looking to get moved. James has been looking to get moved since this offseason when he, from his words, says that he was lied to by Sixers general manager Daryl Morey in terms of an extension on his contract. So James is looking to get traded. At this point, preferably to the Los Angeles Clippers, seem to be the only team actively engaged in trade conversations with the 76ers at this point. But so the biggest question, like I mentioned, is pretty much where this is ultimately headed, whether or not James will make a contribution to the Sixers this year, when this is supposed to happen. He's, like I mentioned, he was away from the team for most of the offseason and the start of the season, expected to rejoin the team in the next upcoming week or so. We'll see how he looks on the court. Sixers started the season 2-1, losing the first game to the Milwaukee Bucks before winning their last 2. So me personally, like I said, it's inevitable at this point. I think that he's going to get traded. As far as where, uh, I don't know. Like I'll be honest with you, I don't know personally just yet. I haven't seen much out there in terms of rumors or possibilities, other than the Clippers, like I just mentioned. So we'll see what happens. I'm curious to see how he looks with the Sixers when he does suit up, because when he did this move before, it was to the detriment of his previous teams. So when James wanted to get traded from Houston, he came back to Houston physically out of shape. He looked physically out of shape. He was playing like it. And so then he gets traded to Brooklyn. Sort of the same thing happens where He's balling out. He's looking good. He decides that he wants to get traded, and subsequently his play on the floor starts to reflect that because at that point he's no longer engaged. He doesn't want to be there. And so I'm at this point curious to see, because at this point with the new CBA in place, they've tried to get that out of here. They've tried to exile that type of thing from even happening or be in a situation where a player can just force his way out of a team. But that being said, the NBA is a star-driven league. It's ran by the stars. When a star wants to get out of a place, he usually gets what he wants. When he wants to go to a specific place, he usually gets what he wants. That's how James got to Philly in the first place. So, I think I have a good idea of where it's headed, which is, like I said, with him getting traded. But in the interim between now and then, I am really curious how the dynamic with that team specifically gets impacted. What's your thoughts?
I think Harden, it sounds like it's a saga with him. He does a couple years with one team, doesn't like it. All right, cool. I'm gonna go to the next one. He does another stint with another team, doesn't like it. Oh, cool. I'm going to go to the next one. To me, it kind of just takes out the fun of the game. Like, you want to sit out, you don't want to be, and I get it. You don't want to be with the team no longer. The general manager might have had some things down the line that was supposed to happen, but did not end up happening. But you want to do all this stuff. To me, I don't agree with it. I think that he should be penalized severely for not wanting to be a part of the team, and also not wanting to play. Like, to me, I look at it like, you're trying to stunt the growth for your team. You're trying to make them look bad. You're trying to not see them grow. But hopefully they do it in spite of you. And, whatever team you are trying to go to, I hope you go to the team that doesn't want you. You go to a team that's kind of like, all right, we'll just take you just because I don't like that stuff in basketball, man. It just looks bad. Like, I get it if you're sitting out the season because you want more money or you don't want to be there anymore. But you know the terms of your engagement. You know the terms of your contract. Like, it's not like you're up for a contract extension. It's not like you're up to be released. You from what I've seen, you've been in good standing with that team until this past season, where it looks like everything's going downhill for you. Now, right. Is it because the general manager made a promise like, hey, we're going to build the team around you? I don't know what promises were made backdoor. I don't know if they were trying to go a different direction, making him the star and kind of giving him more of the load than Joel Embiid. I don't know. But what I do know is Philly need to get it straight quick and fast, because you don't want this to be a stain on your team going forward. You don't want this to be the main focus of your team. Oh, where's Harden? Harden's not, like, that's such a distraction with the team. Like, same thing with Brooklyn with Kyrie and all that other stuff. That's such a distraction to the development of the team, because every game they're gonna ask the same question: what's going on with James Harden? Blah blah blah. Like, to me, I think it's just gonna pose a distraction for the team and not do any good weight for them. It's not gonna be any good publicity. That's just my take.
I agree, man. And then James is going to do what James is going to do at the end of the day. I feel like at this point he's made his stance clear. Like you mentioned though, the impact that it has on the team, constantly having to deal with those questions, building a bond with somebody as brothers in the trenches, and then your brother leaving you in the trenches. So now they got to embark on this season with a dude who essentially quit on them. Or to have to be asked questions about a dude who basically quit on them, decided that he didn't want to play with them anymore because of what somebody in management did. What does that say about the players on your team, and how you feel about them players on your team? You can't care about them or want to see them do good if, because of what upper management has decided or done, that all of a sudden and now that impacts you playing with your brothers. Yeah. And I am curious from a organizational standpoint as a whole, because the Sixers were the process thing. They just trust the process and all of that stuff.
How long are we gonna be trusting that?
It's a wrap. That's my point. That's my point, is that it's I think it has to be declared a failure. Just being straight up. I don't know if anybody else is at that point just yet, and maybe I'm a little bit biased because I do watch Sixers basketball regularly, but I think it's got to be declared a failure at this point. I think the process started in 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So we're about 8 years into the process now, with nothing to show for it other than a bunch of second round exits. The Sixers started this thing with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, and Markelle Fultz.
Yep.
They traded from the number 3 pick to the number 1 pick to get Markelle Fultz and passed on Jason Tatum. Excuse me. I'm messing that all up because that wasn't the Jason Tatum draft. They passed on somebody though, number 3, and gave him to the Celtics at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you factor that in, you factor the Ben Simmons stuff, never wanting to shoot a jump shot his entire time here, and essentially again forcing his way out of the organization and out of the city. What does Joel Embiid do if James Harden now forces a trade and decides that, yo, I don't want to do this Philly thing? Doesn't just Joel Embiid decide that, yo, I want to keep doing this? I've been in Philly over 5 years, almost 8 years now, with nothing to show for it. Does he decide that he wants to go somewhere else and get a fresh start?
Yeah, but what's the trend we see in basketball now? It's no more 10, 15, 20-year stretches with one team now.
It's over for that.
It's that era of basketball died with Dirk Nowitzki, Kobe Bryant. That era of basketball is done. That era of basketball, for a person to stay on one team, Dame Lillard was the last one.
You took the words out of my mouth, good brother.
He was the last one, and he was like, all right, I've been here majority of my career. He's been there, he was in Portland, 12, 14 years? He was there for his whole career.
Yeah.
So he took it upon himself, and I don't have any issue with that. I think that's great, but it kind of took a lot of the competitiveness away from basketball, because people would hop from team to team and create these sort of called super teams. And to me, if I got Golden State, Steph Curry, he's been on there his whole career.
Steph and Clay.
But his team did an upward trajectory. Like, it wasn't like they were stagnant. They did a lot of things. They did great things. They built a team around him. But yeah, to me, I'm more of because I'm a San Antonio fan. So I grew up watching David Robinson. I grew up watching Tim Duncan. I grew up with the creation of that team: Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, Matt Bonner. All those different guys coming into that form and creating a sort of a dynasty that competed in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, and even the 2010s. So I miss that type of basketball, but you're not going to see that anymore. That's good. That's gone, and that's dead and gone. Like, you're not seeing that no more. That's just, you're going to see guys now. The future is take a 2-3 year contract, 140, 150 million, have an option where you can either stay or you can go. You're not seeing the longevity no more. Like, I think that for basketball is done. And I don't get it. Like, if it makes sense, do it. But sometimes when it looks like it makes sense, but then it doesn't go well. Like when they had that, when it was Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, Kobe Bryant, that looked good on paper. That looked excellent. But it didn't matriculate to anything. Nothing happened.
Yeah, I mean, it all looks good when it's like you think you still playing NBA Live. But like when you actually gotta
my team. When you create your own
or you playing 2K or something, like it's easy. Of course it looked good, but you gotta think about personalities and skill sets and how they actually mesh. So but all these players in the league is all buddy. They all friends with each other. They all want to.
I despise that. Like, that's one thing. Like, I can say football kind of has held that together, where you don't see that. You don't see Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees getting drinks or buddy or whatever. You never seen that. You didn't see Ray Lewis and Tom Brady hugging and kissing and all, doing all this craziness before the game. That's what I love about football. Basketball, like, bro, what happened to the competitiveness of, like, yo, I'm not talking to you. That's why I love Giannis, because Giannis doesn't do that. Giannis don't do that. He is very much like, I'm gonna do my own thing. Hello, how you doing? Cool. We not buddy. LeBron, he's friends with all the Hall of Famers. They're all buddy. Him, Chris Paul.
They all clutch clients.
all of them. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. You friends with all the superstars in the league. That don't even make sense. Did you ever see Kobe Bryant like that? Kobe was cool.
And I was gonna say Kobe was cool, but like we not doing all that. Like, we're not doing all that. We're not even about to do that.
And then I don't want to go on the red, but then Jordan would do it as a psychological thing. Like, he would do it like, I'll befriend you because I know when I get in the game with you, you're going to think we friends and I'm going to school you. He did it more of a psychological thing. LeBron's not doing that. LeBron's making true friends for life. That's his buddies for life. That is what it is. Like that's just what he's doing. But yeah, I think basketball, man. I think it's the era now of like everybody wants to play with one another. You got LeBron on his 100th year talking about I'm waiting for my son to come in the league. Like, and I don't even know how that's possible. How do you play for that long and still produce those amount of points? That's never been done. Like it's unprecedented. Like,
well, he's on a pitch count. He's on a minutes. Well, supposedly he's on a minutes restriction this year. So
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
yeah, I mean, even still, like let's say they let him do like 25 to 30 minutes a game. How many points do you think he can? How many points do you think he can drop in that? Like
he's Bron, man.
15, like I give him 15 points, 15, 16 points, 5 assists, 6 rebounds in that amount of time. That's what I'm speculating. I know that's a lot because that's what motherfuckers do on a regular 40, but it's LeBron. So maybe. And then
I still could see LeBron averaging 20 points in 20 minutes, or in 25 to 30 minutes. I could see LeBron averaging 20, a good 20.
Even though LeBron don't got no handles, but he's still a guy that, bro, he really doesn't. Like if you ever see LeBron play, he got a couple moves. Like he's not an extreme ball handler. He's not really that guy when it comes to handles the ball. But 25 minutes, 30 minutes tops. I can see him averaging a good amount of points. Now, I mean, is the Lakers' future looking bright, or is AD going to pick up the slack? I don't know. I don't know.
AD was supposed to pick the slack up 2 years ago.
Yeah. So I think
he is.
With the AD, they got one championship together, one championship.
Yeah, yep.
And that was the bubble. That was in the bubble. So
COVID
year. That's one like Shaq always says. If a championship got an asterisk by it, that don't mean nothing. I don't want an asterisk by my championship. Shaq said that. So is it a championship that actually counts? Because it was in the bubble. The range was a little bit better. You had motherfuckers shooting 10 threes in one game.
No crowd noise. No fans in the stands to boo you and cheer you.
Yeah.
I didn't put an asterisk on it though, because ultimately you still gotta play the games.
Yeah, no, you still gotta
go out there and play.
You still gotta play. Yeah. All right. Oh, that was a good dialogue. Let's go ahead and pivot. Let's go into we'll talk about Mike Johnson, and then we'll go back to salaciousness, Dwight Howard. All right. So if you guys don't know, it's been going on for a while. Me and Chris kind of touched on it last week, but the Republicans have just selected a new House Speaker. If you guys aren't familiar with it, it's Mike Johnson. All right, Mike Johnson. Hold on, let me pull my notes
up. Out of Louisiana, correct?
Yep, out of Louisiana. He's Speaker of the House. And just to give you guys, from a CNN article that was just published a couple of days ago, that he kind of did a whole interview, and they talked about a bunch of key issues. Talk about his view on, how he sees the world, his view on abortion, gay rights, everything that pretty much what's politics about. It's about creating policy, and he gave his opinion on a lot of things. And I'll just pick out my couple points. Good, my few points that I've seen that I think that's gonna be something that kind of is gonna attract a lot of attention, whether good or bad. It's kind of up to you guys to kind of see if that's good or bad on you. If you are a Republican, this could be good for you, great for you, because you have somebody that's going to stand up for what you believe in, and go in there and be authoritative when it comes to the bills and things like that. So one of the things he kind of talked about, he talked about his worldview, right? So he's a Christian, number one. So his worldview is coming from the Bible, a biblical standpoint. So how the Bible is presented to him, how he reads the Bible, he puts it out to the world as well. So whatever the Bible says is a yay or nay, he goes by that. So he talked about, he does have a history of opposing, gay rights and abortion rights. That's something that, if you are a Christian or you study the Bible, that's something that is a no-go. And if you're looking at it from a biblical standpoint, okay, abortion's a no-go. That's something, if God blesses you with the seed, you carry out and you create that seed, because one of the goals of a person that is a Christian is this, to reproduce. That's one of the duties that you have as a person that studies that. All right. He plans to negotiate with the White House on funding bills and may insist on budget cuts when government funding lapses in less than 3 weeks. So he's talking about, when we face a potential shutdown. He's gonna be steadfast on that. He's gonna talk about what needs to be cut, what not needs to be cut. He's gonna try and be go into that partisan relationship with the Democrats and try to facilitate good talks with them to solidify us and try to get a budget passed. Okay, Johnson supports more funding for Ukraine, but wants to impose 12 demands to ensure the money is well spent. So those 12 demands for Ukraine, let me just piggyback because these are important, guys. Let me talk about that real quick. Give me 1 second.
Take your time. Mike Johnson was one candidate who was not well known prior to his election becoming Speaker of the House. So most people aren't going to be familiar with his background or the things that he supports and opposes.
Okay. So, good point on that, Chris. So his 12 demands was not listed in the article, but pretty much he's very lock in step with the Republicans on those 12 demands. If they're not met, they are not releasing funds to Ukraine. So if you guys remember, all the money that's been given to Biden, Biden has given to Ukraine, didn't come with any type of, from what I've read, didn't come with any type of barriers like this has to be done, that has to be done, or we're not gonna release the fund. It was kind of like the statement of Russia's gonna invade Ukraine, Russia's gonna do this, Russia's gonna do that. Give them the money, give them $100 billion, $60 billion, $80 billion, and it was kind of like that. Mike Johnson kind of wants to stop that from just giving money blindly to Ukraine without knowing how it's going to be spent. All right. Okay. And then last one, he is open to restricting President Biden's use of U.S. military power in the Middle East and believes that guns are not to blame for mass shootings. Johnson's guiding principles of conservatism include individual freedom, limited government, the rule of law, and fiscal responsibility. So that's important, right? Individual freedom. The last president to kind of speak on that, if we want to go deep in, was last president to speak on that in politics. If we're going to go deep, it was Trump, and then you go even further before that, you can talk about Reagan. If we're talking about Republicans, because you have to limit the power of government so you don't get a tyrannical government that impedes on your life and liberty, right? That's what he's talking about. He doesn't want the government to control every facet of your life. That's not what the government's for. The government's supposed to be for the interests of the people, not for the control of the people. And he also talks about the rule of law. He's very steadfast on believing that the law is the law of the land. Whatever Congress has as laws, whatever the federal has as laws, states has laws, he's very keen on that. He's not going to be keen on changing certain laws or this or that. He's very keen on how the laws are set now. And lastly, fiscal responsibility is very important. Being good with our money as a country. Stop trying to get into more debt. Stop loaning more money to the other countries, foreign states. We have to limit that. All right. The United States is not a piggy bank. And I think Mike Johnson is trying to reiterate that, because the more money we give, the less we're getting back from these other countries, right? Because if you think about it, this war in Ukraine, if it continues, this could be a war that lasts about 5 to 10 years. If it's a war that's going from negotiations, a ceasefire here, a peace talk here, continuation of war here, this could be a war for the long haul, okay? And we're getting spread pretty thin here, helping Ukraine, helping Israel. If Taiwan pops off, helping Taiwan. If China goes and invades Philippines, help the Philippines. We are going to be spread very thinly as a United States. So you guys got to start paying attention and understanding that, because we're not a big brother to every nation. Even though people want us to be, we don't have unlimited money. We don't. This is what it is. But go ahead, Chris. I'll let you touch on Mike Johnson.
No, I mean, his record is it kind of speaks for itself in terms of the things that he opposes and the things that he supports. So when it comes to his perspective on foreign policy and, like you mentioned, fiscal responsibility, those are things that I'm not necessarily opposed to, like especially being fiscally responsible and the the debt that this country finds itself in today. It drives me crazy my damn self. But that
Hmm.
being said, I'm not I'm not super obviously I'm not super opposed to providing aid to our allies, foreign and our foreign allies. It's just like you mentioned, it gets a little bit out of control when you do start to add up the amount of money that's being divvied out, how frequently it's going to be needed to get divvied out, and then the other places ultimately, aside from just if we're just speaking hypothetically, if we're just talking about Ukraine, and then you got to factor in, like you mentioned, Israel, and then you got to factor in the Philippines and all these other places. So it's just like it's a lot to try to it's a lot to try and wrap your mind around. Um, and I'm never mad at any politician who leans on the word of God in terms of how they view the world, or how they view governing the world. But you got to kind of get with the times a little bit. You kind of got to understand that we don't live in biblical times anymore. So to try and make policy based on the Bible in 2023 may not be the the best idea in terms of what's needed in a modern society. Um, I'm probably never we'll probably never see eye to eye when it comes to abortion, and I do understand the biblical background or the religious background behind opposing abortion. However, there are circumstances that aren't discussed in the Bible that ultimately would require an abortion. So I'm always going to be pro-choice. I'm always going to support women's right to choose, and you know, Mike Johnson has kind of made it clear that, like you mentioned, he's pro-life under all circumstances. That being said, though, I'm curious to see his path. At this point, because he is what number three in line at this point to the
Hmm.
presidency in
Hmm.
terms of most powerful people in the country at this
Yep.
point. So he has a lot of responsibility and he has a lot on his plate. Even the you know the gun his stance on guns, and we're going to get to that at another point in the show.
Hmm.
But you know you it just fascinates me. It fascinates me for anybody to be super opposed to any sort of gun reform or gun legislation. But that's, like I said, that's a different topic for another part of the show. Um, Mike
So wait,
Johnson
wait.
has his beliefs.
So wait,
What was
wait.
that?
So what's your stance on gun control? What is your stance on that?
I mean, we don't get me to speaking unintelligently, right? I don't want to jump out there
Oh,
too
I mean,
soon,
you
but
can say.
I definitely feel as though that we do need some sort of gun legislation. We need some sort of gun reform, especially when it comes to assault style rifles. When it comes to assault weapons, um, it's no reason for anybody to be having those things, man. Not most people. Most at this point, I don't think that people are naive to the fact that a high percentage of people are trying to get access to these weapons, not with the intention of sport, not with the intention of what maybe the intended use was supposed to be. At this point, assault weapons are the number one the number one choice for anybody that wants to go out and commit a mass murder is to get an
Yeah, but
assault weapon.
you know what's funny with that, right?
What's that?
You know it's more stringent to get a handgun than it is an assault rifle, right? You can buy an assault rifle the same day and you can grab it.
That's my point. That's my
So
point.
so one thing with gun control is, and I'm pro gun, I'm pro Second Amendment.
Yeah, for
Uh,
sure. I'm not opposed to the Second Amendment
no, no,
whatsoever.
no, 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 no. I get you. But I think with that, right, like the way governments have done it, right? They like to strip your rights away little by little. So when it's in law and you don't have it, you can't do anything about it, right? Similar to Canada. Canada, you can't own guns in Canada. All right, the way you procure a gun in Canada, it has to be for a specific reason. You can't just get a gun in Canada just because, right?
Right.
Canada, you used to be able to own guns in Canada, but then the government came in and said we need to ban guns. We don't like guns. We don't like this. So they took the guns away. So now, when your government becomes tyrannical, right? And this is why the founding fathers created the Second Amendment and created the right to bear arms and create a militia, right? Because when a government becomes too powerful and you don't have weapons to stop them, you're not going to be able to do anything or defend yourself, right? Now you might say, "Yo, man, that's crazy. That's never going to happen, bro." We don't, we don't know. We don't know, and we're seeing it happen from our very own eyes when we see certain states or certain countries where the government gets a little too crazy, but the people don't have any weapons or any guns to defend themselves. That's the issue that I have. I'd rather it be you make it harder.
What governments are we speaking of, though? What governments are we referring? When you your statement, who are you referring to specifically?
So if we talk about like France, right? France, you can't own weapons in France, right? When they do peaceful protests and they're getting thrown around and they're getting ravaged by the police, they can't fight back. They can't do anything. That's another one, right? Britain, you can't own weapons in Britain. You can't stand up for yourself. You can't show any bare arms in Britain, right? The government can literally take over and do whatever they want. You can't fight back or nothing. Those are two examples right there. Britain, France. Well, Japan has zero crime rate, but Japan is a different story. They're virtually 100% homogenous when it comes to culture and race, so they're totally different. It's a whole different ball game. That's one of the outliers, I will say. But I think because this country has such a lineage, such a history with weapons, that there's no way there will be any legislation that'll ever get passed ever that would allow you to just ban weapons point blank period. It's never gonna happen. Now, if you're telling me like, oh, man, I wish that we had more stringent laws, I'm with you. I agree with you.
But that's all a part of policy change. It doesn't even if we're not talking about a ban, the fact that, like you just mentioned, it's easier to get an assault style weapon than it is as opposed to getting a handgun.
Do you know why though? Do you know why?
No, tell me, educate me.
Because assault weapons, assault rifles, they're utilized for hunting and doing all these other things for sport, right? That's what their primary focus is. That's what they're utilized for. Handguns is more for self-defense, self-defense, practicing shooting, whatever the case may be. That's the difference between them. Now, for me, I just don't want there to be any law to take away from me being a legal citizen. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't do any nut stuff. I don't go around doing nothing crazy, because laws only take away from you as a law-abiding citizen wanting to do anything. Criminals don't give a damn about a law. Excuse my language. Don't give a damn about it. They're gonna procure a gun regardless. And even now, sorry, just don't mean to take a side note. Even now, you can buy something called a ghost gun, right? You know what a ghost gun is, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, you already know. I don't got to get into it, but I'll explain it for you.
Go ahead for the people.
So a ghost gun is a gun you can purchase that does not have a serial number on it. It's a polymer plastic 3D printed gun, right? So you can purchase that from certain underground websites, from certain places where you can purchase the upper and the lower of the firearm, and you can put it together. That's dangerous. And then even now, I was reading an article. Now you can get 3D printed switches. You know what a switch is, right?
Yes, I do.
So a switch is, you put that in a semi-automatic weapon, a pistol, and it becomes a fully automatic. That's dangerous, right?
Extremely dangerous.
But the individuals who are seeking that is criminals, right? The law-abiding
9 times out of 10
aren't going for that. I'm not gonna go buy any of that. And then if you're a law-abiding, the only way you can get a switch legally, you have to write to the ATF and you have to legally request, I want to modify my weapon to become to have a switch to become fully automatic. That's something the ATF has to do. But let's go. I'll tie in one more point, right? So I'll put an example, right? You're talking about the gun laws and everything like that. I'll put in one example, right? Once we allow the government to kind of become fully aware of the guns and everything like that, you know what's going to start happening? They'll start hiring government agencies. Government agents will show up to your door, take inventory of your weapons, see how much bullets you have, see how much rounds you have, and limit you on your purchase of the weapons and limit amount of weapons you have, and maybe even take your weapons if you have too much weapons. You kind of follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So that's the last point I'm gonna make on that. With the weapon thing, with the firearm, with the gun laws.
Ultimately, it's a good thing to have a Speaker of the House in place.
Yeah,
we didn't want to get to a point of not having a Speaker of the House the way we have been for the past few weeks. So like last time we talked, if we was going to get to this point, we got to this point. So, congratulations to Mike Johnson for getting elected as Speaker
Mike
of the
Johnson.
House, and yeah, like I said, we'll see how he takes on this new responsibility as being a Speaker of the House. He was relatively unknown prior to this, so it's a lot of responsibility being Speaker of the House. It's not an easy job, and it takes a certain level of being able to talk across the aisle and work with the people across the aisle. So we'll see how he handles it and what we can get done over the next couple months here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely keen in to see how he handles himself and how he deals with the bipartisan issues that are facing the House now.
100%.
All right, so we'll dive into salaciousness, craziness, wildness. Dwight Howard, bruh.
Dwight. Yo, you remember they used to say the white around your lips?
Yeah,
The white
yeah.
around your lips.
Yeah, he probably has some white around his lip, but
Amen.
Dwight Howard. So I'll read some of this article, and we'll kind of have a dialogue on it because this stuff is crazy. So, former NBA star Dwight Howard has denied allegations of sexual assault, battery, and false imprisonment that were filed against him in July, and asked the court to dismiss the civil suit he is facing in Georgia. So, people don't know, sexual assault is when you force yourself upon someone without their consent and do sexual things to them, right? Battery is when you're striking an individual, right? And then false imprisonment is when I'm holding someone hostage without their consent. So Dwight Howard is facing a litany of charges, and this is wild, but we'll continue to dive in.
It's all civil though, right? He's not criminally charged,
all civil,
right?
No criminal charges, all civil, right? Howard said that he engaged in sexual activity with a man during a 2021 encounter at Howard's residence in the Atlanta suburb of Sawanee. According to court documents obtained by The Guardian, the former number 1 overall draft pick denied that he caused any injury to Harper, that's the man's name, in addition to allegations of intentional infliction of emotional distress and false imprisonment, according to the filing. The 37-year-old who played most recently of the Taiwan Leopards was responding to a July complaint in which he was alleged to have started a correspondence with the plaintiff over Instagram direct message. The exchange led into an in-person meeting at Howard's house where the alleged sexual assault occurred. This is getting crazy. The attorney for the plaintiff, Olga Emazalova, told ESPN that her client did not consent to the sexual encounter, saying, "We fully anticipated Mr. Howard to raise the issue of consent in Monday's filing." Howard's legal counsel have accused the plaintiff of attempting to extort the basketball star in exchange for his silence. What was a private consensual encounter was made public for profit, and Mr. Howard looks forward to bringing the truth to light in a court of law, one of Howard's attorneys. Justin Bailey told ESPN the allegations against Mr. Howard are contested. Mr. Howard intends to present the truth. The truth is Mr. Howard blocked the plaintiff on social media and then was confronted with two options: pay to protect his reputation or have a fabricated story made public. Despite being an easy target due to the subject matter and his status as a celebrity, Mr. Howard chose to trust in the justice system and will rely on all future court filings to speak for themselves. All right. So that's just a preview of the article. So, I mean, Dwight. I'm flabbergasted, right? Like, this is something that, and I don't care. Whatever you want to do is your business, right? But don't make it my business. Don't make it front page news. Don't make it all what it's been talked about. Like, and I don't know if Dwight's married or not. I don't know if he got kids or not, right? But you're not denying it, brother. There's no denial. I didn't hear him say this had never happened. He's saying the man consented. He said, yes, we engaged in sexual activity with another man. Nothing wrong with that. That's his business. Good job, right? Good job. But I don't want it to be my business. I don't want to hear about this. Dwight Howard, I looked at you as the super reincarnation of Superman when you did that dunk in the NBA dunk contest. You know, when you was in Magic, dominating all them years. Doesn't take away from your greatness. You're great, Great, but it puts an asterisk by your name for me because this is salacious, crazy, and wild. And for you to get up on the news, get interviewed, they ask you, "Are you gay or not?" And you don't deny that, which is fine. This is fine. But you say, "Oh, what's in my bed is my business." It's not anymore.
Hey
Not
Dwight.
anymore.
Hey Dwight, you better stop it, man.
Like, bro, like Charlemagne say, bro, come out, live your truth, please. The chickens already came home to roost. Live your
Hey
truth.
here.
Walk in the light, brother. I'm telling you, once you admit to what you are and how you are, life is going to be so much easier for you. Nobody can make fun of you. Nobody can talk about you. Live your truth, brother. Whatever it may be, whether you're homosexual, bisexual, asexual, whatever sexual, live your truth. That's it. Ain't nobody gonna be mad about that. You living your truth. Nobody. And the crazy thing is, the media. I ain't hear the media ask any of his former basketball stars he played with any of the questions.
Nah. Nah. Yo,
Yo,
do you watch Stephen A's podcast?
I
Just out
did.
of
He couldn't read.
curiosity.
He couldn't read no more of it. He couldn't read it.
Yo, he shout out to Stephen A, by the way.
Shout out to Stephen A.
Big
Smith.
fan. He made a good point though in terms of a lack of interest in Dwight Howard amongst the NBA teams. 30
Yeah,
teams in the NBA, and none of them decided to pick up Dwight Howard. It's not like he's washed.
yeah,
It's not like he can't still play. Like you just mentioned, he's playing in Taiwan still,
yeah,
abusing those little small dudes over there. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
In more way than one. But it's it just begs the question in terms of all this stuff, whether or not teams had been privy to Dwight, or forget teams and management, right? Like what you just brought up. Other players, was it
Right.
talks amongst players saying, "Yo, we good on Cuz in the league. We didn't had enough of him and his shenanigans in our locker rooms for the past
Yeah,
decade or so." You know what I
because
mean? Because locker rooms are intimate places, whether or not you believe it or not. Like
yeah,
that's a very a very close knit place where you you kind of expose a lot of yourself, again, in
right.
more ways than one, in terms of just like your life and what you got going on. You getting dressed in your locker room, you showering in your locker
Yep,
room. You got to
yep.
be ultra comfortable in the locker room. So it just begs the question of whether or not other players had gotten fed up with Dwight and his behind the
Innocent.
closet shenanigans. It's 2023 though, brother. Like my good brother M.Dot said, man. It's live your life, live your
Live your
truth.
life. Live
And
your truth,
yo,
bro.
it's almost like a contradiction some ways, because like we telling you that we want you to live your truth, but then we telling you that we don't want your truth to be our business. Two things can be true though. Like two things
Yeah,
can be true. You can live your life, do what you do, and love who you love, because love wins at the end of the day, man.
yeah,
Whatever floats your boat, whatever gets your rocks off. You know, I support people doing what makes them happy.
yeah,
Uh, but with that being said, man, it's 2023. There's a ways to go about this type of stuff to the
yeah.
point where you don't have to be making headlines, or
No,
you don't have to be putting your family
and
in an awkward position. Because he got kids, man. He got kids that's on social media at that. You know what I mean? So.
like like I just want the audience, like when they get a chance, like just Google like the Dwight Howard grabbing a teammate's balls. Like Google that when you get a chance on YouTube and just look, because like that's just like a preview into what he was actually doing. And like Chris said, we don't give a damn. Like do what you do. At the end of the day, man, you're an athlete, you're a superstar, right? There's ways you could have gone around this to make it to where both parties trusted one another, right? And I maybe I don't believe this 100%. Maybe I like 50%, 60% of me believes this, 40% of me thinks it's garbage. But I will say that when I see a civil claim but no criminal charges, I do believe that it could be fake. Because to me, why you wait 2 years to come forward? Happened in 2021. Why'd you wait 2 years? What happened? So that could be maybe the money stopped flowing, the conversation stopped flowing. Like Dwight said, he blocked the individual. Maybe that resulted in that individual filing a civil suit. But then they say, once you're a victim to something like that, there's no time limit on it. But I look at it like this: if
Yeah,
you want
man.
somebody to pay for their crimes, if you want somebody to really go through it, to really face that ringer, if that happened to you, next day go to the police, go to the hospital, get a rape kit done, whatever happened to you. Allow the police to have all the evidence, because when you wait, the longer you wait, the more the evidence is washed away. Ain't no more evidence. Ain't no physical evidence anyway. All this is hearsay and circumstantial. That's why it's probably no criminal charges. Because you can't. You're gonna take the word of somebody for another, and he's going about it civilly. Because why? Civilly, you're gonna get compensated monetarily. If you went criminally, majority of the times you're not, unless the judge deems so. But civilly, you're gonna receive damages. And I think how this is gonna go. I think Dwight, he's asking for the case to be dismissed. But if it continues to go, if it continues to get a lot of spark, he might just settle out of court. It might be a small settlement out of court, and then it'll be everybody's news. And by 3 weeks ago, ain't nobody gonna care about it. Number one, and number two, he's still gonna be playing in Taiwan. He ain't gonna be playing in the NBA.
If he was smart, he would have settled this thing a long time ago,
Yeah,
as opposed to just trying to fight all this. I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to the assault victim stuff, I got much like empathy when it comes to victims of assault, because, like you said, there's no timeline on it. It's impossible to predict how you're going to handle those situations. And granted, he went. When you it's just when you find yourself in a situation where you're a victim of that, it's hard to tell a person how to handle it. So if it took him 2 years to be brave enough to go to the authorities, and statute of limitations was past the point of being able to charge him criminally, but you could still get justice in some form or fashion, do what you got to do, man. It's ultimately on Dwight to not be a nasty nigga, to not be an irresponsible, nasty boy.
Yeah,
Like, it ain't got nothing to do with cuz going to the folks a couple years later, because it was all well and good. Everything was consensual until Kitty popped out the closet.
yeah.
Everything was cool until Kitty popped out the closet. Yo, listen, anybody get surprised by a 40-year-old man named Kitty, you going, I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and I didn't touch all that in the article. The article didn't talk about that, but diving a little bit more deeper, like Chris said, it was down. It was like dude was coming over. Harper was coming over. They was going to engage in some sexual activity or whatever the case may be. Unbeknownst to Harper, there's a whole trans woman, trans man, a person that was
woman.
Oh, okay, a man that was transitioned to a female, so trans woman, hopped out of the closet, and Dwight was like, "Yo, let's get this threesome popping," and Mr. Harper was not having it. So what led to that? That's why the false imprisonment comes in, because he held him there against his will until he let him go. So.
And then forced him to get a ride home from Kitty rather than the Uber.
Yeah, that's still scratching my head, man. Still scratching my head on that. But
I don't think Dwight thought this whole thing through. But it doesn't sound like he was thinking with his
I think Dwight, 73, probably was horny as ever. Wanted to live out his fantasy.
Screenshots. He said, "I like to get a little freaky."
Yeah, so freaky means I want to lay down with another man. That's a different type of freaky to me.
Dwight, you're a nasty boy, man.
Yeah, Dwight, you need to, seriously, like if you're gonna take these interviews, brother, live your truth and talk about it. All right,
or call a publicist, gang.
Yeah.
Like, call a publicist, gang.
Stop handling on your own, man. Like, you coming out here, they asking you questions, you don't want to answer none of it, but it's like you brought it on yourself, man. Like you like all these other celebrities. All these other celebs make these people sign NDAs, make these people do all this other stuff. You the only not smart one.
Or check this out. They got publicists who send, these questions are off limits. We can talk about, we come in and talk about this, and this.
That's it.
But that, and that, we not doing.
Don't even ask it. Don't even ask it.
Don't even ask it, or we not showing up. That's all it takes. And listen, at that point, the interviewer has the choice whether or not they want to sit down with you. Because
so, I mean,
you know what the people want to talk about. We want to know what's popping.
Yeah. So Dwight, good luck to you. Hopefully everything goes well in Taiwan. If you're ever going to be back on that team again, I don't know, because China doesn't really tolerate a lot of that. So it's Taiwan. It's Taiwan. So Taiwan's a little bit different. They're a democracy, so it's a little bit different. But if he was in China, they wouldn't tolerate any of that. But good luck to you. Hopefully this gets squared away for you. But live your truth. Live your truth. Live your truth. Okay? Simple as that.
Simple as that, man. Simple as that.
Craziness. My
Prayers to
Lord.
Dwight and all involved.
Prayer for Kitty.
All right.
They had that person in that closet.
Hey, that's a big boy to try and put in the closet, man. I'm trying to figure out how he lasted this long. That's a big bull. That's a big bull.
Bro, can you imagine a 7'2" man talking about you coming over? He talking about, yeah, you gonna love what I do to you. Like, what? You 7'2". You 7'3". You're gonna hurt me.
Yo, fam.
Big boy, man.
Yo, fam. Like,
that's
Dwight, you gotta relax, gang. You gotta relax, gang.
He's going off the wire, man. Like the text message he said, like Stephen A. said, this is gonna be the last time we talk about it.
Yo, listen, it's a wrap.
I'm done. This is the first and last. Pen it, paper, done. Sign it. This is last time I'm talking about Dwight Howard in this aspect ever.
Period. Unless you get inducted into the Hall of Fame, Dwight, which I think you will.
No, yeah, Hall of Fame definitely. That's not even.
I don't want to know about your escapades ever again.
Not even a question. It's just like the Hall of Fame. You know, I hate the Hall of Fame sometimes because, especially the NFL Hall of Fame, they like to take out off field. They like to take off field issues into and bring them into what the person did on the field. That should be two different things. Like what you did on the field, that goes what you did on the field. Off the field issues should have no bearing on whether you make the Hall of Fame or not. Like a lot of guys that missed out on the Hall of Fame. Like I remember when with T.O., they didn't want to put him in the Hall of Fame for the longest because of all his off the field, even in locker room things that were happening. But the numbers speak for themselves. You can't, and like top 5 numbers.
That's the thing with T.O. With T.O., he wasn't even in trouble, quote unquote, off the field. Like you mentioned, he was just a headache in the locker room. Never got arrested. None of that.
Locker room stuff. And they made that like it was the worst of like he was the worst of the worst. I'm like, bro, this man is an all-time legend, a great. Like he did great things on 3 different franchises: San Francisco, Eagles, and the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. That's crazy to me.
Top 5 greatest receiver of all time.
5, bro. Damn, man.
Top 5.
Damn.
Top 5.
But I digress. You want to talk? You want to get into the sport? You want to get into the sports? You want to get into who you got for the winners and losers?
Damn, I don't have too many winners and losers. Let me see if I can pull some out. Matter of fact, we'll go back to winners and losers next week. We haven't talked about football in a couple of weeks, so next week we'll be at the midway point of the season. So we'll revisit where we at with the season and how we feeling about our squads, winners and losers for the first half of the year, and where we see things going for the second half.
I love it. I absolutely. We'll dedicate next week to all football, talk majority football on that one. Anything else you want to discuss, good brother? You got anything else?
Yeah, just a quick wrap up. We do want to send our prayers and condolences to all those affected by the most recent tragedy that took place in Maine. On October 25th, 2023, a gunman killed 18 people and injured 13 others during a shooting spree at 2 locations in Lewiston, Maine. The first mass shooting was at the Just in Time Recreation Bowling Alley during a youth event, and the second occurred minutes later at the Sheminji's Bar and Grill restaurant. Authorities listed Robert Carr as the as the suspected gunman, and a manhunt for the suspect subsequently ensued for the next following days until ultimately Card was found deceased not too far from a previous employer that he held. So again, we just want to say our prayers and condolences. What'd you say?
He killed himself?
Yes, he did. Found deceased of a apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Prior to that, he did leave a note behind saying that by the time he had been found that he would not be alive, or he would not be quote unquote with us anymore. So,
I
yeah,
guess
prayers and
I'm
condolences to all those involved.
feeling right now.
Yeah, he's a coward. He's a pig. He's disgusting. That I seen reports where apparently he had quote unquote a lot of things happening in his own life that maybe kind of snapped him. I don't want to hear that, man. I don't want to hear that. I'm not going to justify anybody taking their problems or the things that they're going through out on eight multiple people who have nothing, who've done nothing to you,
Nothing to do with anything.
did absolutely nothing to you, have nothing to do with the problems in your life. As a person who has been a victim of gun violence myself previously, it literally turns my insides to think about people getting killed senselessly, especially in a tragedy like this, like I said, where these people didn't do anything to this man. You just woke up this day and decided to go out and do this. And that's more so why, back to our conversation that we was having previously, I'm not opposed to guns. I'm not opposed to the Second Amendment or the right to bear arms. That being said, though, people like Robert Card shouldn't be able to walk into a store and purchase an
Yeah.
assault weapon under no circumstances. And so I am going to support stronger gun laws, or more things in terms of background checks, psychological evaluations, further testing other than just an application. I think if you want to get a gun for sport, that you need to be a part of a professional league. I don't think that you should be
Yeah.
able to purchase a weapon for sport, but you can't tell me where you actively use this weapon for sporting purposes.
Yeah.
We can't use that excuse as a reason to justify the easy access to these weapons, when most of these people are just walking in these stores and walking out and then making us the choice of a lifetime to destroy countless families with these actions. So again, Robert Card is a disgusting individual. Good riddance to you. And I, as a as somebody who's tired of seeing this stuff, I would like to see some sort of change, man. As mass shootings are getting are worse than they've ever been in the history of this country. They're not getting any better, and every time they happen, we do the same thing every time. We don't do anything different. We argue with one another as to why this happened, but we don't ultimately try and get the solutions. We don't
Yeah.
ultimately look for things to try and excuse me, to try and alleviate this crisis that's happening in our country. And this is a crisis. This is an American domestic crisis right now with these mass shootings in this country.
Yeah.
So,
And I think what now go ahead, finish your point, bro, and then
no,
I'll
I was just gonna say again, prayers and condolences to everybody affected, because it's a tragedy.
I think with a lot of the mass shootings, we have to really tie in the mental health as well, because a majority of them have mental health issues, and I think a lot of that we're not tying the two together, right? We're not we always look at the gun as the issue, right? The gun is the problem. Get rid of the gun. What about the mental health? What about that aspect of it? We never talk about how do we stop this from happening? Yeah, let's take away the guns, right? Can that mental health person use another weapon that can still cause harm? Oh, let me get a knife. I can go on a stabbing spree. I can go stab a bunch of people. We need to focus on the mental health component, because this guy, from what I've been seeing, from what I've been, definitely probably has some mental health issues. I can guarantee you that. A lot of these guys always have something wrong with them. Sometimes it could be a racially motivated extremist, where it's a racial thing. They want to target a certain group of people, similar to the guy in Buffalo who went into that black supermarket and killed a bunch of people. Or it could be somebody that has mental health issues, similar to the guy in Aurora, Colorado, the one that watched Batman, that in the movie theater and killed a bunch of people in the movie theater. He had mental health issues. So we have a lot of examples of this, and I think we do have to get a little bit more stringent on the laws, but we also have to figure out the mental health crisis in America as well. This is a pandemic. We need to figure it out. We need to fix it, because if we don't fix it, if we just say take the guns away, fine, take the guns away, take them away tomorrow. Guarantee you that's not going to stop the problem of people killing people. It's not going to fix it. That's not going to change nothing. It may result in, I don't know, less casualties, whatever, but it's not going to stop the violence. The person still even if you there's a statistic out there. There's 300 million people that live in America, right? You know how many
Yeah.
guns? You know how many guns there are in America? 100 million guns. How do you think the government's going to be able to confiscate 100 million guns?
I don't even. Yeah, I mean, listen. I don't expect the government to confiscate no guns. I'm not even talk. I don't even want that. That's not what I'm looking for. I just I would like tougher background checks. I would like psychological evaluations to be mandated. I would like a registry of every single person who attempts to purchase a firearm who gets denied. So if you got denied from purchasing a firearm for mental health reasons,
Yeah.
then there should be a registry for you. That way you can't go to another store and put in another application and then just decide, well, I got denied over here, so I'm gonna just go over here. Or I got denied in this state, so let me just go to a state where the gun laws are a little bit lax and I can just go get one from down there.
And you know what's
And
crazy? They do have that in certain laws. If you have a mental health issue or you have like some type of mental health disorder, you're not allowed to purchase certain weapons. In certain states, they enforce in certain states they don't know. They call red flags. So if a red flag comes up, they won't allow you to purchase that weapon. But sometimes
oh,
certain states don't enforce them, right? They don't
right.
enforce them. So that's the problem. There's laws in place, but they're not getting enforced properly. They're not getting handed out correctly. So it's a drop the ball type of thing, man. I mean, could this have been prevented? Like, I mean,
Yeah, 100%.
yeah, this could
They
have
knew
been.
about this dude. They had to, even if we take it off of guns and everything, this person wasn't somebody who was off the radar. You know,
Yeah,
he had made it known what his intentions were. As far as excuse, I could be speaking out of turn, but from what I've read it, and from what I've watched, he wasn't a guy who just kind of popped up out of nowhere.
right.
He had been showing signs of this, and so this 100% could have been prevented. But all of this stuff can be prevented. It doesn't have to be a situation where we just have to concede to the law of or the way things have been throughout this history. I think that there are things that we can actively be doing to try to deter these people with these issues. And I'm with you on the mental health part of it, because that is the other half, the other, like, the yin and the yang to this entire equation is the access to the weapons, but also the mental health part of treating people when they do display these symptoms, or encouraging somebody to get help if they may have a certain thought that they
Right.
may have in their head. A lot of people don't want to talk their issues out. I'm always going to be a advocate for going to therapy,
Yep.
and talking out your issues, seeking help when you're in a mental health crisis, when you feel like you're in darkness, when you feel like you've hit rock bottom and you want to take it out on somebody else, go get some help. Go seek some
Yep.
help. Go reach out to those around you who care about you so that you don't feel this way. And if you don't think nobody care about you, you got one person right here. Call me. Hit me up on Instagram. You
Yeah.
can hit us up at the Who Asked Y'all To podcast on Instagram.
Yeah,
And
there we go.
we'll chop it up with you. You know what I mean? So, but the last thing you do is, bottle that stuff up until the point where it just explodes on you one day. But people have to get there. You got to feel comfortable enough to get to that
Yeah.
point, but we got to prioritize that in this entire thing. I don't never want that to get lost in this equation. I never want to make it strictly about the weapons. Um, but sometimes it goes hand in hand. Sometimes you got to
Yeah.
address one thing at a time. And if the mental health part of it is the part that's the hardest, because you can't necessarily force a person to go get help, or you can't force somebody to talk, but you can make it harder for them to access certain things. And the people who are responsible with their weapons, they should have voices in this too. Like, they should be able to
Yeah.
express, that they're opposed to mass shootings. Like, they don't support mass shootings, but they also don't support having guns taken away from them. So
Yeah.
it's a double-edged sword, man. It's not going to be an easy problem to resolve, but if we work together, if we literally put our heads together collectively to figure out what's a common out, what's how do we get to common ground to just start to curb this trend, we'll be that much better for it in the long run,
Yeah.
and it'll
And
be a safer world for everybody, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we got to address the issue. But I will say this, and this is my last point I'm gonna make. The only time I've ever seen someone stop another person with a gun is when another person had a gun.
When they got
I've
a
never
gun,
seen
for
I've
sure.
never seen a person who had a gun get stopped by another person trying to talk to them. I've always seen it. If you had a gun and the other person had a gun, you was gonna get stopped because that other person had a gun. So guns do have a pivotal point in stopping individuals do crazy things. Um, but that's my last point.
Nah,
You
you're
got
right.
anything else? You got anything else, good brother?
Nah, that's all I got. This was a great episode, man.
Yeah,
Very good dialogue. I appreciate you as always, good brother.
absolutely, my boy.
Appreciate the
Absolutely.
audience. It's a late night, in case y'all can't tell. We recording late night tonight, so we
Yeah,
both tired as hell.
and
But
that's on me. I got kids, and
nah,
Chris is
nah, we ain't apologizing because at the end of the day, we made sure that we got on here
yep.
to provide some more content for you guys because we really appreciate the support thus far.
Absolutely.
Like bro said at the top of the show, we really trying to grow this thing, and cultivate a family of audience of people who are interested in these same topics the way we are, who feel like they just want to express their y'all opinion or their opinion the same way we do. Because like we always say, man, these is unsolicited opinions. Ain't nobody ask us how we feel
Nope.
about this.
Nope.
Nobody hit us up and say, yo, please talk about Mike Johnson. Please talk about Dwight Howard and his nastiness. Yo, we just said, man, we got
Yep.
time. We got time and we going to
No,
go
no,
in. So,
nobody told us to talk about Jada neither, but we sure as heck had to get on her last week.
hey, man, listen, we don't discriminate. Listen, you do some wild stuff, we
Yeah.
coming. Just
Yeah.
know that.
Everybody can get it. Anybody can get it. Anybody. Anybody. Anybody.
But nah, again, great episode. Appreciative for everybody who's been supporting us thus far. Go shop the Ami Candle Collection. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Who asked y'all to follow Matt M. Lim 18 on Instagram. Follow me, Chris Porter with 2 R's. As y'all know, and stay tuned in, man. Again, thank y'all so much. Final thoughts, go ahead, bro.
All right, no, just peace and love to y'all. Like Chris said earlier, prayers go out to the victims of the Maine mass shooting. I hope this doesn't continuously be a common occurrence, but with the mental health, with the weapons being available to individuals that don't need to have it but want to have it, it's gonna be these things happening. But peace and love to y'all. We out of here. Peace out, man.